Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sundays Are for Contemplation. I'm Sof, and this is Nicole.
We're trying something new. I haven't eaten today, so we're doing ASMR.
Yeah, mukbang. I'm waiting to hear the chew.
Well, it's just so weird. I feel like people are so weird on the internet.
All right. Well, you could keep munching while we talk.
Yeah, that was it. Oh,
This
no.
this episode is purely just us coming back to like have a conversation with that between ourselves and between you guys. Randomly, like on my mind, I just want to say really quickly, I'm super excited because I realized that the apparently the FIFA World Cup is 1 year away, and next year, I thought because it was like the 100th anniversary or something, they were gonna do like the opening game in Uruguay. I might be wrong on that. I'm not sure, but they're doing it in between the U.S. Is it Mexico and Canada?
Yeah, but we'll see
And
what
I
happens because
yeah,
I think there's a lot of beef right now.
beef in what sense? Like politically? That's true. But I was just seeing that like there's 4 games that are going to be played in Miami. And last year, well, Nicole and I were in Miami for the Copa America, and it was crazy hearing about the final being played in Miami, like everyone breaking into the stadium. So I told my dad because he lives in South Florida, like, hey, like, what if we go to the game? But tickets start selling in fall anyway, so I don't even know how much they're going to go for, but going to even one of those games would be crazy.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, I don't know. I think I've just been on the news too much these last couple of days,
Yeah.
like reading the news, and like obviously the media. Well, it's not gonna exaggerate things, but I think just everything going on in the U.S. right now. I'm like, is there even gonna be like U.S. in a year? I don't know.
True. We'll see what happens. Also, I'm trying to put my AC on right now because
Oh, did you buy one?
no. I have an AC unit in my living room, but that's the
Oh, you
only place
do.
the house
Okay.
has.
Oh,
And I can't turn it on for some reason. Wait. Okay, I think it might be on.
beautiful.
But
Great content. So far, we've been eating chips, talking about football, and turning ACs on. It's men.
dude, I want to know what was your who were you indirecting on your close friend story the other day? Because okay, for anyone listening, for context, Nicole was like, I don't like it when people like put out like takes without basically, I don't like when people post takes without like having read up on it. And I was like, who are you indirecting? Like who
Well, it was like some random person from high school I like don't even speak to, but it was just like people are
like
just
IE?
no, high school, high school.
Okay, okay.
But like I mean, it doesn't matter. But it's just like sure you can repost things you think it's funny, but then it's like when they like say stuff like this is like so like correct and like groundbreaking, and I'm like this isn't research. This is just some like pothead's like opinion. Like I'm not saying it's invalid, but like you can't like give this so much value.
That is so funny.
Because usually I like just go through like my Instagram stories and I see people repost tweets. I'm like sometimes I skim them, but I'm like whatever. But if you like put like this is so like such innovative like thinking
Yeah.
obviously I'm like okay I'm intrigued like clickbait, and then I read it and I'm just like what?
Yeah, you read it and it's just like literally like a pothead's opinion.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
and you're like oh
Yeah.
and yeah, especially when it comes to like real issues. I don't know. I think it was the thing was just talking about how like society is like attacking the families, and that's how it's all gonna like it was like conspiracy theory like level shit, and I was just like wow.
Oh, like so like the nuclear family type of vibe?
I don't even remember. No, it was just more like how like very like right winging
Yeah, like
propaganda.
trad family, like
Yeah, like it's like
okay.
like this like the reason why okay basically it was saying like because like we like ruin masculinity, okay, whatever, that now like women are working and they require the state to take care of the kids, so they send them to like the government, and then the kids are going to the government schools and then they're getting confused about their genders, and I was just like a whole like
Yeah.
pipeline of just the most like unconnected like issues in society, and I was just like this is
Mhm.
insane. I'm like
Yeah,
wow.
it's giving very much like modern social media political take.
Mm-hmm.
But
And I was just like, I mean, you can look at one issue and like analyze it and be like, okay, like maybe there's some sort of like, sure, like the male identity like crisis, like sure, like maybe there that is an issue that a society we have to address. But that's not the reason why kids are changing to like their genders. Like they're too like,
Like those two
you
things
know
are
what I mean?
completely disconnected. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like things that are like real issues, and then they just put them together to sound like conspiracy theories, and you're just like, do you hear what you're saying?
Yeah. No, I hear it. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens in a year from now, I guess.
I don't
To
know,
the
dude.
US. Um, but randomly enough, like I was
I'm
just
like, okay, this is my fear. I'm like, I wasn't born in the U.S., so
yeah,
I'm
but
like,
you still have like the
yeah, but you never
I
know
mean,
what can happen in a year.
that's true. Legally speaking, though, as long as the majority of people, I feel like, uphold this belief, like they're not able to retroactively change any law.
Yeah,
And
but they did not follow it.
I even think though, if
I
a
mean,
person,
the U.S. government's like already broken so many laws.
I do think though that's
Like,
such a strong principle that if like someone in power decides to like retroactively change that, like maybe for a few years, like hypothetically speaking, if the president or the government was just to say like, oh, like any US citizen in the last 20 years that became a citizen not because they were born here, their passport will be revoked. Maybe for a few years it would stand, but I do think that there would be some sort of complete like turnover, that they'd be like, this happened way back in like the 1930s, like Germany, like there's a reason why we have a principle called non-retroactivity. Like I
yeah,
don't
no,
think that
I completely
people
agree.
like
But I agree, and I feel like that gives me like a sense of security.
yeah.
But unfortunately, I feel like most people don't even know what the fuck's happening. Like, there's so much
Yeah.
misinformation. They're voting for people that are actually crazy, and that believe and like actually changing these laws and are proposing it. And
Mhm.
obviously, there's still some sort of balance of powers, but it's just like the fact that it just takes a bit of a crazy majority to just like destroy.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm,
feel like
I'm a
I
little
feel like this
nervous.
episode might get us canceled.
I mean, I might like get stopped by like immigration when I go back to the U.S., but
Why would they though? I mean, whatever. We'll see.
I don't know. I saw like a thing about like a bunch of pot or like comedians. I mean, on TikTok, so it's a very reliable source.
Mm.
But I guess it's like primary source. But basically, like some comedians were like going into the U.S. to do like shows, and they like got stopped by like
Border.
border. Yeah, and basically they just asked him like, "Oh, like what are you here for?" And um, we're just here for like I'm doing a comedy show, and then they just asked him like, "Oh, do you make fun of the president or like the government?" And then
Oh wow.
obviously they were like, yeah. So and it's happened. I think I've seen like a couple comedians like the same thing has happened to them, and like one of them answered truthfully, and the other one's like, you can just like look it up if you want. But it's like,
What happened to them? Were
well,
they like
nothing happened. Obviously they let them go, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's still like
it's
a
like weird to like ask
yeah,
them?
like for like a yeah, like for political opinions within like a
Yeah. Okay, this is just like random and I'm not making any statement by saying this, but like I remember that in Ukraine, like Zelensky used to be a comedian.
yeah.
Wrong,
I think
right?
so. I
I
think
don't
so.
know. That's a random thought, I
I
guess. But
mean, what Trump was like an actor slash failed businessman before he became president. Like it's all a joke.
yeah. But what was I gonna say? Okay, speaking about comedy, I'm gonna explain a thought that I had recently
Okay.
related to all of this. Because we were talking, I guess we were talking about kids and where we're gonna be in a year and whatever. And so I just had this thought today where I was like, and I talk about it a lot, but I'm like, I don't want to have kids at least until I'm like in my 30s, or even I think married, because this all stems from me watching a movie based on it's called Saturday Night. It was really good. I watched it like yesterday or 2 nights ago. It's just about the making of Saturday Night Live. And I was thinking about like New York City in the 70s, and I'm watching another movie also called Saturday Night Fever, for that. But it's like New York City in the 70s, disco sort of vibe, and like all these like, I don't know, groovy people in the city, whatever. And I was just kind of thinking about the concept of being in a city that like with all of your artist friends and what it's like to kind of like have fun and everything. And it kind of feels like Madrid right now, where we are, is turning into a little bit like that because everyone we know is moving here. And some of them are even coming from cities like New York. And I don't know, I've just been like feeling like recently a lot of people are kind of gravitating away from New York City and the US in general, just because it's becoming so expensive in a place that is a little bit oppressive.
Yeah.
Maybe not even oppressive like in a super like physical sense or like in the sense of your rights, but more in a cultural sense and like freedom, like like you can't fully express yourself because of so many like constraints regarding politics or money, and even that is just a lot, right?
Yeah.
um, so that's why I've decided that I'm not going to have any kids until I'm in my 30s because I just want to have
Wait.
fun while I'm young.
Okay. Enjoy the.
Yeah, and just discover what it's like to like build this city to become our own, and like
Yeah.
you know and all of this is also brought to me recently because, also, sorry if I'm not making a lot of sense. I'm just trying to pull a bunch of different thoughts together into one.
This episode is just gonna be our like day to
Brain.
day conversation, catching up because we haven't seen each other in
Literally.
days. So we're like,
It's just a brain dump, honestly, today.
yeah,
But what's it called? I was thinking about all of this as well because of like the festivals, you know what I mean? So we had like Florence, all of a sudden now people are in Lisbon, next they're going to New York. And if a lot of the same faces are going to be popping up like in these cities, like it just brings to me like, wow, like we're all just kind of continuously having like a big party once a month or every other month, but we celebrate art and we have fun, and it's just kind of giving me the same vibes as like New York in the 70s, at least how it's portrayed in like movies and books.
yeah.
um and I also remember, I think it was Kim Gordon from the band, was it Sonic Youth? I think so. She's like the bassist for the band, and she wrote a memoir about how, of like her life and how she started to like play in this band who was popular in like the 90s. And she was talking about how she was born in California, LA, and she was part of a big group of people that were like famous Hollywood actors. And she even knew a little, like she's interacted with people from like the Manson family, I think, like way back when she was super young. And
Hmm.
then she moved to like I think Hong Kong when she was a kid, and then New York City in the 80s or 90s. And again, she references like these groups of artists that are together, musicians, artists, writers, and they all just kind of connected and they came together and they had fun in the city, and everything was sort of a haze and like starving artists, like people trying to make it together. Um, so I don't know. I figure if that's kind of like what I want my life to be, at least to look like for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I
Um,
was gonna say like, I
yeah,
think we're just in that phase of life where it's everyone has. I feel like the same as you, where I'm like, I need to take advantage of my youth and like be with
yeah,
artists, be like doing all these cool random things. And like I saw some girl in my class that I follow on TikTok post something that's like, you're not 16 anymore. It's fine to put your relationship, like romantic relationship, like more like like to make it more important, like a more important aspect of your life. And I was just like, we're the same age, and I was just like,
well, I can't.
no, I don't know what
Who
I'm
is
doing.
this? Am
But
I allowed to know? Can we like redact their name? Can you tell me who it is?
I don't think you know her. She's just some
Oh,
random girl in my class. But like I
so
don't know her that well. Like I don't. I think I just like she followed me on TikTok like first year, and sometimes she just like reposts random stuff. But like I
okay,
was just like, but
yeah,
she has a point. That's what I'm saying. Like we're just all in such random phases of life. Like even I've been talking to like my mom about my mom Brenda about like things like this, and she's like, it's okay for you to like. I think this is where I'm talking about maybe like the gender crisis like aspect of it. Like we've become super hyper independent that I'm like terrified of putting a man not even before my career, but like even like bringing him near me because I'm like it's gonna get in the way of my career and dreams. And it's like
mm,
no, it's like okay for you to let people into your life and so
yeah. I
it's like
mean,
it's a weird balance because I'm with you. I'm like yes, like crazy stories, have fun. I want to be single, and then it's like is this okay actually or not?
I think it's just gonna be like you're gonna meet the person who's meant for you while you're having fun and doing all of this.
True.
Um, and that's what
I
you should.
agree with that.
Yeah. And I think you shouldn't limit yourself, but in my head it's just like the dream of the white picket fence, like settling down and having kids with someone
Yeah, absolutely
while
not.
I'm 25. Like, no, I cannot. That is not something that I dream of.
Yeah.
um
If I've had like maybe have kids, but like sail around the world or like force them. I don't know. I don't want
Force
to have homeschooled kids, but like I'm gonna be traveling and they're gonna be coming with me. So it's like, yeah, picket fence, absolutely not. Especially not in the U.S. right now.
Yeah. That's the thing is like I feel like I still have to like discover myself. And I know that's so early 20s. Like anyone who's older than that is probably listening to this like shut
You're
the
like
fuck
these
up like
stupid
you're being
girls.
so annoying. Like um but also like some I have to like ration how much food I have in my fridge right now.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
how am I supposed to how am I supposed to support anyone else? Also, I keep thinking about the concept of kids as if I have a man in my life right now. Like I have no
Hey,
one.
we're very bad at cupids for ourselves, but we're good at getting our friends together.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, today gonna expose myself, but I was like on Raya. I saw- Do you know who Franco is? It Franco Colapinto? I don't know if it's Franco Colapinto or Franco Lapinto,
No
but
idea.
he's this like Argentine race driver, like just entered Formula One. I don't know much about Formula One, but he's so hot. And I saw him and I was like, oh my god, like he's probably not gonna see my profile, whatever. But um, I was just like, oh my god, like I would marry him.
You never
Like
know. Maybe you'll
you
run
never
into him
know.
at a bar.
The good thing is that he's my age. These are two people right now that I would marry that are my age that are like actually they're both like famous athletes. Carlos Alcaraz and Franco Colapinto.
Wow. No, I'm so emotionally single that I'm like I don't even have like um
Crushes, celebrity crushes.
celebrity crushes right now. I'm thinking and I'm like
Well, there could be other reasons why you don't have a why you don't have a celebrity crush right now.
no, but before that too. Maybe like okay, Diego Luna, but just because he's been on my mind since I saw him in person recently.
Oh, true.
And like my brother's been like telling me to watch the new Netflix or new like Star Wars series that he like is starring in, but also like
Oh.
co-directed or something. And he said that it's super good. And I told him I'd watch him when he comes visit me because I'm like,
Hmm. I tried to watch Star Wars a while ago, but I didn't get through it.
yeah.
I need to
I
like
grew up with an older brother that like forced me to.
yeah, I don't
It's
think
interesting.
my brother did not like Star Wars. Or maybe he did, but like he just never made me watch it.
Much of no things like I think it's a good series because it
Hmm.
like at least if you analyze it from like a political perspective and like an IR perspective, it's actually just reflecting like the international order, but just like
Yeah.
sci-fi. So it's like interesting.
I mean, I really liked, for example, I like the book Dune and the movie Dune 1 and Dune 2. And people say that this was like what actually inspired Star Wars. Um, so I think I would enjoy watching the movie or I don't is there books? I don't know. Are there books?
I think the
Whatever.
books are written after the movies or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
I just know because I've been forced to watch them since I was a kid, and like
Yeah.
my brother would like have like pinata themed Star Wars parties, and our first dogs were named after Star Wars characters. So
That's actually so cute.
yeah, so I'm like not a mega. I'm not like a huge fan, but like I just kind of
Yeah.
like got forced into it.
I would love to watch it though. I feel like I'm going through was this like 1970s because I don't know why I'm going through culturally the 1970s I think was probably one of my favorite eras. One of my favorite decades, like 60s, 70s,
Mine's like 90s, I think.
90s.
90s and 20s.
Mm,
just
yeah. The 20s is cool. I just think I
I said
like
fashion.
fat.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
20s fashion. That's it. Nothing
For
else.
me,
The women's
I'd
rights
say
not great.
for me
Uh,
it's like the music and the cinema. Like I love 60s music and 70s music, like kind of like a
But I think it also depends what country, because every country goes through like different golden ages. Like for me, like Mexico in the 50s would have been like my dream to live in.
hmm.
Like during like the golden age of cinema, like where like Maya Felix and like all of these like famous artists. And like Mexico is like still like there was like so much hope for it because it was like I mean the Revolutionary War or Civil War, whatever you want to call it, like ended like in the 20s. So it was just like barely like starting to develop and like become a true democracy before it all went to shit because of corruption. But like in the 50s, there was still hope, you know?
Yeah.
And then the Narcos happened, but you know, it's okay. We
That's
we
always
persevere.
yeah. So I don't know. With all of this, anyway, I'm just trying to capture a little bit of that essence and make it feel like that's what we're living through now. Because I don't want to like I love thinking back in the time in that sense. Like oh like if I was living in the 70s, I would have moved to New York. I like even if
Yeah,
I had that mindset, I'd be like okay, but where am I right now? What's happening right now? What can we do to make it feel more alive? And for the first time in so long, I'm super grateful that like I'm actually taking some action to make my dreams become a reality. Like whether it's because we're like trying to organize these like residencies for artists and we just have the time to like talk to all of them and like create really cool things and like, you know, build these art festivals around the world. Or it's like taking my writing more seriously and I can imagine myself like, you know, maybe one day I would be some sort of writer for like again, this is literally just because I just watched the movie, but like and writer for SNL or, you know, be in that circle. And I love that sort of I just love being a creative and being close to other creatives. Like it just brings me joy and just
I agree. No, but
yeah.
like what I was saying, like going back to the different cities having like their golden ages, I feel like Madrid is having its golden age right now. So I feel like it's gonna be interesting to see like if in the future they make movies about like Madrid in like the 2025 in the 20
Oh, totally.
2010s.
Actually I had a thought like this with one of my friends who you know him. He's an artist, Franco. Like weirdly enough, so like 3 years ago. Wait, also by the way, on the whole World Cup comment, I realized that the last World Cup was like 3 years ago. And in my head, it feels like it was like 2 years ago. Like it's so much sooner, but like the
Yeah,
next one is already coming up. What the hell? Anyway, I gauge my time in the concept of World Cups that have passed. Um, but what I was gonna say, oh, like around the same time, like 3 years ago, me and Franco and another friend of ours were trying to come up with this magazine idea where we wanted to actually like create like I don't know if it would be it was like a mix between digital and print magazine, but we'd like go around to different places in Madrid, like bars, stores, restaurants, and write little reviews and make them super cool and just like capture this like cultural moment. And me and him actually had this thought where like whoa, like 20 years from now people are going to look back or even longer they're going to be like Madrid like right after COVID was the place to be.
hmm
And I remember actually having worked on this little magazine thing. It was very, very, for me, eye opening because it motivated me to talk to a lot more people that are from Madrid or even bartenders. And I got to learn about, like, for example, La Movida de Malasaña or the movement of Malasaña is from a movement from the 1980s in which one of Madrid's most staple neighborhoods that's more like, I would say, like hipster
yeah.
alternative. It used to be the home for like the more rebellious crowd of like teenagers and like 20s people. Even like for example, famous filmmaker Pedro Almodovar wrote about it and like made a bunch of movies like focused in that area of the scene of like kind of queer people, rock stars, druggies, creatives all coming to this part of Madrid and just being able to have a place to like go to bars and stay up all night.
It's still the same. I
Yeah,
mean, we live 2 blocks away from it, so
exactly. It's still the same, but like I remember I was like talking to this bartender and he was the one who like told me he's like, yeah, this is the first bar that was like from that era.
yeah, that's crazy. No, I
Yeah.
remember like when I was looking for an apartment, I was looking in Malasaña too, just because prices are better.
Mhm.
Well, not anymore. Everything's super expensive. But
Yeah.
I remember like I went to speak to like a couple, and like I think one of them like worked at or had like friends that worked at IE. So when I told them I was an IE student or alum now, I guess. But yeah,
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, that's so cool," and they're like, "Yeah, like this was like my husband's like they were like a recently married couple with kids. Like my husband's like bachelor apartment, but we live somewhere else now. We rent it out." And then they were telling us about how like Melisania, like back in their days, was like the place they had to sneak out to like tell her like the girls would sneak out to go to like the bars there because it was like like
Mhm.
not sketchy, but it was just like un. I mean, it was just artists, like literally exactly what you said, just like underground, like alternative people, and obviously
Mhm.
a more conservative Spaniard might not feel comfortable. But it was just funny to see like the how it evolved, like this like wife with like her husband like renting out the bachelor apartment, and now like Malasaña is like a super like hip place in town. Like now it's hipster, like now it's gentrified as shit. So
Yeah.
it's just like, so it still has like an alternativeness to it, but it's definitely changed. And it was just funny to see like the history and them telling us about like how it was in their time and like how it's the same for us too.
Yeah.
Just young people having fun.
Also remember like because as part of this too, like one of our ideas was like to interview taxi drivers that were in the city and like kind of get to know their perspective, like why they came here, what people they've encountered like driving around. And I remember one of them told me, he was like, yeah, like Madrid a few decades ago too was full of drugs on the street. And of course I'd have to go back and like do like fact check it, like kind of like double check everything that he said, but at least anecdotally, he said that the city has really transformed a lot. And now more and more people, internationals, corporate people come into the city and move. And to me, it's kind of crazy that it's just like, I feel like from the stories that I'm gathering from people, it started off as this cultural movement, which, like you said, it's like an underground like wave of people coming here. And all of a sudden, we know Madrid a little bit more corporate. Like they're building up all of these like, like our university is a prime example of that, which is in like a very corporate district, and they're like creating shopping centers around it, and they're going to put in even more housing and more work centers and offices, and it's just like
Yeah. Well, I mean, now you even look at the trends. You go to like Salamanca, which is
mm,
like the nice neighborhood in Madrid, and it's just filled with Mexicans during the summer, like little rich Mexicans, and you're like, they're taking over.
they're
Because
taking
even in Mexico, like everyone's moving, like like no one's going to the U.S. anymore. They're all moving to Europe or and specifically to Madrid.
yeah. The one place I know in the US that's full of a lot of like wealthy Latinos is Miami. um but again, I don't know much about like migration within or into the US anymore, just because I'm not based there.
Mm-hmm.
um
Obviously, there's immigration everywhere, but I'm just saying, like, I can see them on the street, and like from what I hear, like when I talk to my mom and like
yeah.
her friends, they're like, "Oh, like this person's like everyone and their mother is coming to study abroad. They're gonna do a master's here, or like they're just coming for the summer." Like my
Yeah.
apartment this summer has been full, and it's going to continue to be full because people are just coming for vacation. So I guess becoming like the new trend. So, and I
God, we
see
need to
them running
migrate.
around. We went to a Mexican restaurant the other day, right? Like because I was filled with just Mexican kids.
Mm,
We're taking
yeah.
over.
This is when we set into stone Smarreto Ventures and we buy a bunch of real estate and rent it out to all of our
The
friends
Mexicans.
and family. Yeah, all the Mexicans. And we'll upcharge them. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Give them
yeah,
Polanco prices.
exactly. That's true. I have a lot of so many Mexican friends here. Um, I don't even think I'm seeking them out anymore because I used
Yeah.
to think that that was the joke. I think they're just everywhere now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is a huge country, but I don't know. I feel like I was one of the first or people to like because it was right after the pandemic, and I moved here, and
Yeah,
like no one that I knew like sure like they visited Spain, whatever, but like no one was like making a life in Madrid.
yeah.
And
You
then, like
were
I was one of the first, and like a bunch of people started reaching out to me about it, and then like they would come, and then they're like this, just word of mouth.
yeah. I feel like you were definitely a trendsetter in your circle for sure. And
I'm
I think
always a trendsetter, so
everyone that's what I'm thinking. Like in our like age group though, like for sure, like even our university, like we were the first to like inaugurate the new campus. Nothing was even there the first year. We were all like in class with our freaking masks on and everything. And then all of a sudden, like we
we
started
would
to
go
see.
clubbing in masks. Like I don't know how like useful that was, but
I don't remember that.
I do. I remember they would like yell at us if we took our masks down. Like we only were able to like rent tables, and we had to go on the tables and just like put the mask,
That's
and you can only
crazy.
take it off, but you, yeah, you don't. You were there, so
Like
like
I
there are
remember
a
that.
lot of those. You don't remember? Yeah, that makes sense. You don't remember.
Yep, it makes perfect sense. But what was I gonna say though? No, because I remember too, like it was kind of like a running joke, like at our university, like anyone could get accepted, because like at that point, no one was really coming yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly, all of the years following, way more people started applying,
Yeah.
and it got became like a much harder university to get into, and it's just like we started the trend.
I feel like they also just invested a shit ton in their marketing.
Oh yeah,
Like IE's TikTok page.
Totally.
Um,
I almost applied to a job to be like IE's like social media intern. They rejected me.
that's actually hilarious.
I know, but I think it's just
I mean, yeah, you
there
have
was
a
there
law
was a
background. I don't think they'd be like, "What is this lawyer trying to do on
yeah.
TikTok?"
Well, the point is that that's what kind of bothers me though, because I'm genuinely like I am searching for part-time jobs here. And I have my friends that are like even getting recruited because people like reach out to them on LinkedIn. And I'm like, no one's reaching out to me on LinkedIn because I'm just all law based. Like, there's a very clear cut path to go down. And I'm just like, can someone please hire me? Like, I need money.
I hired you, Soph.
uh,
It's fine.
Smarrito Ventures.
The
Day
life
by
of an entrepreneur is hard, but it will
yeah,
pay off.
yeah, exactly. So, we incorporate as an LLC in Spain and we buy real
No, no,
estate.
too many taxes. Too many taxes.
If we're gonna stay here, LLC is the way to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. You're
Yeah.
the lawyer, the
Yeah.
say
That's
tax lawyer. So, um, what else? I'm like, now that we've just spilled
everything that's on our
everything
brains.
on our brains, there's
Um
definitely more that I just like can't think of right now.
oh my god, the matchmaking joke.
Oh yeah.
Well, not it's not a joke, but we just sometimes like Nicole and I like prepare ourselves. We're like, oh, we need to talk about this on the podcast this week. And so that's where this came from. But I'll explain. Basically, in the past month, Nicole and I have successfully set up four of our friends. So like two pairs together.
Who's the other pair? Hold on.
You have to think.
Nationalities. Just do nationalities,
Um,
not names.
one of them is Mexican. The other one is from a northern country.
A
I feel like
northern country.
it's gonna give it away if I go too specific. Just DJ's best friend. Who do we
What?
know that's a DJ?
I know too many DJs.
Okay,
Okay,
the main one. The main one.
the main DJ.
His friend that we set up with our other
Oh
friend.
yeah.
Yes, okay. So that makes two people. And then recently, of course, we have another two people that we know about because it was just this weekend. So that's four people that we've successfully set up.
Will it last? We don't know.
Yeah. But still, like we were like before they met each other, we're like, oh, like you
This
guys
would
would hit
work.
it off, and they hit it off. And they're
Yeah.
still talking as to what I know. I don't know about anything else, but all I've got to say is where is the luck and success when it comes to us two? But maybe that's my mission from now is like anytime I meet someone, it's just so I can see if I can set them up with one of
That's
my
fine.
other friends.
Yeah, because then they'll be in debt, and then if I'm just kidding, this is how you that's one. If you set up like 8 friends, now they're all gonna feel like obligated to help set you up. So you're gonna have
That's
8 options of pools of people to look from.
But it's like exponential because the more people I set up, then the bigger pool I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna have
Unless you set up the
suitors.
entire world, and there's
Yeah.
like an odd number of, and then you're just screwed. Then you're all
I
alone.
think this is all because of the Valentine's special. Like we really did something with that. Because I have known many people who got together after the Valentine's special.
But us.
But us. I mean,
The manifesting worked, but not in our favor.
okay, but in regards to your case, I do see a ray of light as well.
We'll see.
I see a ray of light.
But we definitely found out where the evil eye was coming from.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm.
Hmm.
So I'm at peace though, genuinely. Like
Me too.
I'm not trying to settle down until I'm at least 32. So I have 10 years of having fun and being single ahead of me.
Yeah, but you can still date. You don't have to marry.
Yeah, yeah.
Even what's the thing you said? Even when you're single until you're married. Even when you're single,
No, even when you're married, you're
oh,
not
you're
single.
married. Sorry.
Wait, even when you're married, you're single.
Yeah.
That's the
Who did you say that to? And you said it so like
Yes,
dead
yeah.
ass. No, no. We said I think it was to my cousin. We were at dinner, Because you weren't saying it as a joke. Because I mean, this is the thing. I'm starting. I know I understand your humor, but sometimes I know you're just saying it very literally. Literally, like
I everything that I say is to, even when I'm serious, it's not to be taken seriously.
okay.
You know
Well,
what I
were you,
mean?
I think you were being serious about that though.
I think I am being serious though too, like when it comes to it. Like I know it's a joke and it's funny, but there's truth in it.
I
Like
mean, yeah.
there's a
All jokes have
phrase,
a little truth
you're
on.
not what?
I said all jokes have a little truth to them. That's why they're funny.
Yeah. Wow, wisdom. I'm kidding, but
I feel like
so
I probably heard
yeah,
that somewhere.
because it's just like you're not single until you find your partner, like husband or wife or whatever. Which that one many people agree with. But then I was like, you're not even when you're married, you're single or whatever. But it's many people have affairs when they're married. That's the truth
Okay,
is
well,
that
legally you're not single when you're married, but emotionally,
yeah,
you can't.
legally exactly.
I don't know if I recommend it, but teach their own.
The world is in black and white anyway. 50
Yeah,
shades of gray.
I can't. What other interesting stuff has been happening to us? Um,
I've been in my house for like the last 6 days straight. I feel like I'm sick. So my mind is the most interesting that's been happening to me recently.
have you been writing a lot?
I actually have been writing a lot. Um, I'm trying to get my TikTok more viral, I guess. So the other day I decided that it'd be beneficial to like reveal who I am beside the account, behind
Mm-hmm.
the account. Because I've always just published my poetry online, like anonymously, just like my poem itself, like the writing. And I still like it like that because I find it very calming and it like takes away like too
Yeah.
much interpretation from the poetry itself.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm just trying to put more of my work out there and see like
Yeah,
if it's gonna go anywhere.
makes sense. I mean, TikTok's crazy. I also saw like something about where it's like literally you're like scrolling, like you see like kids dying in Gaza, then you see like a makeup tutorial, then you see like brain rot, and then you like it's just like your brain. It just I don't even know. Like there's so much going on there. But
Yeah.
hopefully the algorithm favors your poems.
I think it's always been like that though, like so much going on.
Yeah, but I think it's so much quicker now because you're just like going like,
Mhm.
you know, and it's
That's
like
true. That's true.
crazy stuff.
Sometimes I just go on there to like post and then I just obviously like a lot of people, I just don't like overloading my brain with so much, you know?
Mhm.
It's I'm trying to like this summer really read more books. I just finished a book like the other day and I started a new one. Also watch more movies and be like focused on them. Just engage in media that's more entertaining or inspiring to me.
Mm-hmm.
And just
Like
focus more.
distracting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I definitely use TikTok to distract myself more than to entertain at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I found it when I was like when I'm really busy sometimes, like for example, when I was like working like my internship full time, I was so tired that like I didn't even have energy to really set something up and like TikTok was the easiest thing to put up and like fall
Mhm.
into. You know, it was so convenient.
Yeah.
Um, so you just have to actively fight against that urge sometimes.
True. True, true.
Hmm.
What was I gonna say? Um mm, maybe we could talk something about the foundation. We have an art residency coming up
Yeah.
with the Renaissance stuff. Why are you I was trying to be dead ass, but
I know, but I'm like, be more enthusiastic, please.
I'm just hungry, okay. No,
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited.
can we get a foundation explanation X mukbang?
Hmm? What?
Mukbang X foundation talks?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If you
Okay.
want. if you so desire it. Yes.
Yes, I do. Carry on.
Sounds good. Yeah, so we're doing another residency. They're announcing, or we're announcing the selectees.
Mhm.
What? Not selectees, that's not a word.
Applicants.
Yes, the chosen applicants. I'm sorry. The languages are not mixing. The hunger is beating me. Um, but yeah, so that's coming up. And I think we have another exciting announcement that, oh, it's already going to be revealed by the time this episode's posted, isn't it?
It should be. Whatever. Let's announce it anyway.
That's what we decided, no?
Yeah,
On the
tomorrow.
space on Thursday.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow after the space.
Yeah, so we're recording this on a Wednesday, but this will be posted on a Sunday. But yeah, Mexico City, that's exciting.
Woo!
And we're going to have another art residency, which I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about because I'm designing it right now. Well, Sof and I are designing it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it's fun because we're both just talking about Latin America and Mexico and like I don't know, just a bunch of ideas and things that we think would be great to share with the community, so they can use it to inspire and shape their art and like share with others.
Yeah, it is super. I'm excited to see it to like come together because it's just like it's nice to see like how this one will be different from the first one that we did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think with this one too, it's like it's hitting closer to home.
Hmm.
Um,
At
and
least
it's
for
just
us. Yeah.
yeah for us. I mean, especially for you because I mean it's like your homeland, Mexico. Um,
My homeland.
your homeland. So
Hey, maybe like for some of the next podcast episodes, like since we're basically designing the residency, you and me, we can like talk about some of the readings. Like the one that I sent you, I haven't gone through it yet, like finished it, but
yeah,
it could be something cool to cover, and we can just like discuss our in depth like our opinions, and then
that's true. We can do it as like a sort of like
listen in on
maybe
some conversations, and then we can ask one of the residents to join if they want to come talk to
yeah,
us, to
totally.
with us about a specific topic.
Yeah, I know like some people like there's a handful of people that asked to come on that we need to gather. We need to record with them.
Together.
We need to gather. But I like how like also like lax we've been with this podcast recently because it's nice that it's like it's consistent, but it's also we do it when we
Can.
want to and
Yeah,
can.
can. That's the
Because
whole point. This is just like I said. This is supposed to be like documenting like our process. That's
exactly.
it. Like I don't particularly want this podcast to get super famous, and then like people be like, "No, I can't."
Yeah.
People, I don't want like people posting or like reposting videos of what I'm saying and being like the Twitter posts. Like I don't want to become a Twitter post when someone's like, "This person is so intelligent. Listen to what they have to say." Like
Yeah.
mind opening. I'm like, sure, like some of the stuff that I come up with is interesting, but I am not an expert in anything. So please do not rely on me for information. Like go read an
Isn't
academic
that
journal.
honestly? I'm gonna take this like a philosophical take though. What is it about documenting ourselves? Give it like a more legitimate. I can't find the word, but you know what I'm saying. Like the fact that we're like recording this podcast right now and putting out there in the world, like to a lot of people, it might sound like oh, like we're legitimizing our opinions by like publishing them. But the reality is that it's just so easy to publish anything that we talk about right now that we really like we're just some 22-year-old kids like
Yeah,
who have passionate hobbies and we're working towards them when we're trying to build something but like none of what anyone says in the world should be like unless they're an expert like actually proven expert like
and even then, the other experts are going to continuously be like, "You're wrong" to that expert, and they're going to
yeah.
continuously fight for generations to come.
What is it like Karl Popper was the one who came up with falsification. He's like, a theory is not going to be proven until it's been attempted falsification first.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if maybe that's it, this is our trial and error. This is our podcast. Like we're the ones that are maybe coming up with the first thoughts, and everyone else can falsify it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or even it just creates like curiosity to do your own research about what we say. But like, don't just be like, "Wow, that sounded super compelling and interesting." They know
Yeah.
what she knows what she's talking about. No, I don't, and no
I
one
know.
does.
Okay, wait, commercial break. I need to blow my nose. I'll be right back. Nicole, take it away.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Um yeah, so I think going back to like the whole idea of like our opinions are interesting and are more for entertainment for you to like hear and listen to and be like, "Oh, this is like an interesting thought." And it's more this podcast is more to like inspire people to like see us go through like trying to achieve our dreams. We'll see what happens. But I think that's more of like the purpose of this like podcast. Were you listening to what I was saying, or did you just like
Briefly.
okay? But yeah, um, no, just like that. This podcast is more about people feeling getting inspired by.
Mm,
But like you said, we're two 22-year-old girls that have no idea what they're doing, but they're trying to do something.
yeah.
And so it's just kind of like if you're listening to us
Mm,
to also inspire yourself to do something, maybe
yeah.
not based off of what exactly like the topics we talk about or what we say, but just like in your
Mm.
own like
I think that's
sense
like
of fulfillment.
something that I was like actually journaling about the other day was I was feeling a little bit lost, and I think it's because like like the recent like graduation that's happening. um and I was feeling actually a little bit mediocre as well because of course I went on LinkedIn and then I just saw some people I knew from high school like getting really good degrees from very reputable schools, and just
IE
pursuing.
is a good school. Also, you're going to be a lawyer in like a year and a half.
No,
Like,
I know, but there's like people that are doing like their masters in like Ivy Leagues right now, like from like school that I know. And
but you can always do a doctorate degree there.
yeah, that's true. But I was just like getting lost, like even Nicole's coming up right now with good points, but I was just getting lost in like my comparison to these like people. And I try not to get into it because of course like I know that like, one day I could be in that position or what they have isn't taking away from mine at all.
Hmm.
Um, but I was thinking to myself, like, kind of working this thought out, like, if I do feel so like lost right now and like I don't really have anything, if I were to look back at my past self when I was a kid, or even if I was like 15, I was looking back to myself now I was 22, I probably would tell myself, just pick something. Um, just pick something. And it doesn't even have to be something that you're like great at, but like if you like baking, just like at least pick that as a skill that you can like continuously like go after. And then I thought about like right now my writing, like this is when I wanted to take my TikTok to the next level, and even if it's like cringy and embarrassing to like post myself speaking, at least I care about it and I'm working towards it. And it's like this foundation, this podcast, like the projects that we're working on behind the scenes, like beyond the residency, is when I was thinking about it more, like who cares if we fail, as long as we're consistent and we put in the work
Hmm.
for it and we try to build something that's going to be still be so valuable to us. And it's either because we have a 50-50 chance of it either succeeding or failing, and even if we fail, that's going to be a lesson for us to learn. So
Yeah. Well, I mean,
just take
going
something.
back to what you were saying about like seeing on LinkedIn all your friends doing these things, but like in going to Ivy Leagues, I'm like, an Ivy League was never your dream.
Mm,
Don't compare your dreams to other people's dreams. Like if you told me like these last 4 years that I've known you, and you're like, I really want to go to Harvard Law School, like this is my dream. And then
yeah.
like you saw other people, like I'd be like, fuck yeah, that sucks. But that was never your dream.
But I think it was also because it was like, I think when I was a kid, I was maybe a little bit more deluded of like, oh, I could get into this great school. Because of course, it's just like one thing that I'm very passionate about is the law, and it's like,
No, no, I'm not saying like that's the thing. You can still study law, but like your priorities weren't never like your dream was not as like simple as I just want to go to Harvard Law.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Well,
your dreams
I
are
will
much
tell
more.
you the reason why I understand your support, but at the same time, it's just like the reason why for me it was never my dream was because I just never believed I'd be good enough to even get there in the first place. And
Um,
so that's why it still hurts a bit, because it's just like and I know that sounds like kind of like that depressing, but it's just like I just didn't want to achieve like aim for something that I never thought that I was going to be good enough to get in anyway. And then now that I've seen like literally like my peers from high school like getting in, and it's like for their masters or whatever else, it's just like
yeah, but you
I
can always
thought back to myself, it was like if I did apply myself as much as they did into what they're doing, like maybe I could have also achieved that.
But
But
again, like you can apply yourself to something, but if it's not
Yeah.
your biggest dream, it's really hard to be like to give it your
Mhm.
all. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what I've from the conversations that I've had with you is like you want to be a lawyer, but like you also want to be an artist and like do all these other things. Like you
Mhm.
don't want to be some corporate like lawyer that's working at like a huge like consulting firm and is like
No.
maybe they're making a shit ton of money, but like that's just like that was never your
Mhm.
like path in life.
Yeah.
And so I
I
think
think.
like you can't compare yourself and saying like, oh, I would have never gone into the school. I mean, you don't know. Like you could have not. But even if you did work hard, like you have to realize like
Mhm.
your priorities aren't the same. So maybe that's it's not necessarily because you're worse than them. It's just you're more diversified in some aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And it's
that's also actually one thing that I was reflecting on too is just like diversification. It's just that being someone who has so many different like hobbies and passions, sometimes I do wonder if being into so many things kind of like lessens my expertise or just knowledge in one of those because I have so many things that I want to work on all the time.
Mhm.
And sometimes I don't even focus on some of those. And that's why I think about it a bit like, what if I was a person who did just like give it my all, you know? And I think I've had that as a kid where it's just like also that realization that like, I don't like, because it's easier to procrastinate if you also have more things to be interested in. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
but I
saying?
think that's just different personalities. Like you and me are both very like creative people, so we're always thinking of different things to do and picking up different ideas and hobbies. And we're not like we can be obsessive and we work hard on what we have to do, but I don't think you would be happy as that kind of person. That's just like I'm a lawyer and that's all I'm going to do with my life. And then like sure they're very good at being lawyers, but then you try to have a conversation with them about anything else and you're like, "Oh my god, this person is so dumb."
Mm-hmm.
Like this has happened to me with like some of my like my brother went to a very good school in the US and like spoken to a lot of his friends that work in finance and like super great guys, but you try to talk to them about anything else that isn't like finance and they're like the dumbest human
Yeah.
beings you've ever met to a certain extent. I don't know. So
I
it's like
think
I, I don't know. It's
it's just it also it just ties to like my dream into being a very successful person in more than one thing. And I think that's why like we just need to have hope. Like
just what I'm
that's
saying. Going to Harvard Law School is not your dream.
my dream
If
is
it
just being a
becomes your
very
dream, then
successful
you
person.
can do it after you finish your master's here and get your
Mhm.
Spanish like um I don't know, like credentials, is that or like legal, yes, lawyerness. I don't know.
Mhm.
If it becomes your dream, then like go for it. But I don't think you should feel. I don't think you should look at it as like you think that you would have never gotten in because I
Mhm.
don't think that's the case. You don't know. I
My
just don't
dream
think
is
it
just
would.
again like what it's tied into what makes the most successful person. What do you think, Nicole, would be someone who is successful? And I know we've talked about this before, but it's just like of course like you can measure success as someone who's gone to like a great school
Well, no, I
or
think it's up to the individual and like what their own dreams and
Mhm.
version of success is.
Mhm.
Like for some people, like working at a corporate job and being like very high up, going through like the very traditional like Ivy League schools, doing this, that's successful. Other people, it's starting a business and doing their own thing, you know, and like becoming like a CEO. That's their success. Another
Mhm.
people person might be like, you know, maybe moving back to like or learning about working in a more developed country and then moving back to their country that might not be as developed, and then trying to like help their own community and develop like their own local communities. That might be their version of success, like a communal success, not just a personal. So it's
Mhm.
like you can't I think success is tied to like personal happiness and that's just for you up to like that's up to you to decide.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, personal happiness. What would
So
you think for yourself that would be though?
my
Like,
personal
for
happiness.
yeah, what would your personal happiness then be? Like, imagine yourself, like, would you also, secondary question, would you want to be someone who's successful, like, early and young? Like, would you ideally want to have it a year from now, or would you not mind having it, like, 20 years from now? Like, when you envision yourself being successful, when do you feel like you would be?
Well, the issue with my version of success um kind of what I was talking about, like communal, like my version of success is communal. Like obviously
Mm-hmm.
personal success and being praised is like nice, but to me it's just like a milestone in what I need to achieve, which is much greater than my own personal success. If that makes sense.
I think so.
Like I do, like that's why like this whole time thing
You
too.
want to achieve that milestone, but that's not everything to you.
Hmm.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
obviously, no, to achieve like my actual dream and like goal, I will have to go through these milestones, and obviously, the sooner the better, so that I can achieve my actual goal. But like
Hmm.
having like a timeline of like, oh, I want to be this super famous CEO, or like being on like cover of Forbes or whatever, like Forbes,
Hmm.
like sure, it's like nice and like yeah, I'll, like feed my ego, but I don't think it would be what would like ultimately like make me happy.
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
whereas other people, and that's totally fine, but that's just like my dream. Like I don't know. I just
Yeah.
feel like maybe it's the Mexican, like communal thing, but I just have a lot of responsibility and like a lot of people that I have to take care of.
So your dream is like of your personal happiness would be just like delivering that happiness to other people in your community, like strengthening that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
but I need money to do that. So,
Yeah. I think for me, part of it is communal, but I think this is why I'm still a little bit lost because and this is what gets me because I'm just like I see these people who have are achieving milestones. Maybe I can put it that way. Maybe it's not that they're just successful, but they're achieving milestones, right? And I know I've achieved a few of them myself as well. Like I'm not saying that takes away, but I'm just like sometimes I feel like I have an idea of what I want, but I feel like I'm if I don't solidify the idea soon of what that personal happiness will look like for me, that I'm just gonna be like floating through life and I'm never gonna be working towards something, right? And I mean
yeah,
this in the sense like I also want to achieve these milestones, and that's a great way to put it. Like I want to publish a book and like sell it to a bunch of people and kind of be this like I don't know, like I just want to like delve into my writer and be like a leader in this. And then I also love the law and I want to work in it. I don't know how exactly. And this is when I saw myself because I'm like, I don't know if I want to have my own law firm. I don't know if I want to work for someone else. I don't know if I want to like create my own business. I mean, that one I do know I want to do, but like when it comes to a measure of success in that sense, like I don't know. And it's just like I know we don't all need the answers, but sometimes I feel like if I don't have something to look to go towards, I'm
hmm.
never gonna create something,
Well,
you know?
that's what I'm saying. Those are like the milestones, like that are more like little accomplishments or like one-time things where you did this or you like you can measure it, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
think like the overall like goal is more like abstract than like a oh I did this.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like a continuous change that you see within either
Mm-hmm.
yourself or like I mean I don't know like mine. I think like my dream is something that I was made very clear to me from like a very young age, but that's just because of like unfortunately I had to go through like difficult things to be
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know like I've spoken about this before probably on the podcast, but like immigrating to the US, obviously very
Mm-hmm.
privileged the way that I immigrated because I am a US citizen because of my dad, but I just like remember leaving and like just seeing all like the violence and then going back home and just seeing how there's no opportunity, like it's just a constant cycle of like poverty and like
Yeah.
violence. And I was just like from my own personal experiences and then seeing other people, I was just like, I just don't want anyone to have to go through this again. And then like maybe it's like a savior complex or something, but I because I have like all these privileges and like the education and like the upbringing that I had, I was like, okay, like I actually have the potential to create a positive change in my community so that these
Mm-hmm.
kids don't have to flee their homes. They don't have to like cross the border and all the issues that are going on in the US right now. Like they wouldn't even have to be going through that if
Yeah.
someone within their community would just that had like the resources and the knowledge to like help could just go
Mm-hmm.
back and fix not fix things but like I mean, because fixing an entire country is very difficult, but kind
Yeah.
of slowly just changing even the lives of a couple people.
I wonder this was like kind of like make causing me to ask the question like if people's versions of success is tied to the maybe the lack that they experienced in childhood at one point or like what they suffered through and they're just trying to find a way to fix it And I even tie it to kind of like consumerism as well. Maybe a lot of people's version of success is very tied to material ends because maybe
Hmm.
like what they lacked as a child was the inability to have those material things at a certain point. And it's, of course, it's like the want that's created by a consumer society. Like, you don't need this, but like brands try to make you feel like you need it. So people kind of like associate that with like just like material success, whatever. But I don't know. It's just like a question I ask myself if that's really like. This ties back to like another question that we've talked about way before. It's just like if people are just always motivated out of fear,
Yeah.
um, and even if it's a subconscious thing, of course, biology is rooted in it. Like it helps us all the time. But like, how much of what we went through as a kid, like when we suffered, like
Well, yeah, of
just
course it affects our personalities,
yeah,
but I think like my case is just like particular. Like I don't
yours is very
necessarily think it was fear. Mine is more frustration and anger.
mm,
Like I don't think about it and I'm like afraid that I'm like, I don't know, like I don't feel like a victim or whatever, but I'm just like,
yeah.
okay, I don't
No,
like this. I'm gonna change it, and maybe I'm just too headstrong.
mm,
No, like yeah, but I mean, that's just I don't know. But well, I mean, going back to that, like sure, like there's the very um nice aspect of my dream, which is to help my community. But
yeah,
obviously, like something else that is maybe again, it's like very like Latin American, but like the sense of like family and legacy is super important. So there is like that egocentric like aspect where it's like, okay, like when I die, are they going to be like, oh, cool, she was like a CEO, or is it going to be remembered where like this girl like or woman when I'm older, but actually like helped so many people and like people remember me because of something good that I was able to bring to
mm,
them. And I mean, again, maybe it's like my upbringing because like my grandfather is like super like he's like this like he's honestly like a saint, but like he's like I've told you before, he's like a civil engineer. He works for the Mexican government a lot, like building
yeah,
highways, like self-made, which is like very rare in Mexico because of like the disparity. Like it's just um but like every time we go to like because he's lived in all the states in Mexico, like every time we go, like people remember him with so much like love, and he doesn't do it on purpose. Like he's like a little kid. He just gives, like
yeah,
unknowingly, and it's just kind of like the behavior that you grow up around that you're like, you normalize good behavior, and then it's like the expectation. So
yeah,
maybe like that's kind of tied to like the legacy. Like it's not just that I want to like feel like I'm helping. I want and like it's nice to be remembered, but like knowing that people will remember you for these things means that what have done has also like significantly helped them. So it's like a weird
yeah.
cycle.
No, I really like that, and I think that is a nice way to like just like improve yourself and like your aspirations. They're just like always doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like when your aspirations go beyond yourself, they force you to push further than you can.
Hmm.
I feel like when I've found that when my like aspirations were selfish, I wasn't able to achieve them.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if because maybe there's the pressure of other people counting on me that kind of forces you to like act. But
Hmm.
I don't know. That's just been my so far how my life has gone.
Yeah. I just think of it too in the sense of like I don't know. I just like personally still feel so lost when it comes to all of this because I
Well, I mean,
share.
me too. Me too. I'm
Yeah.
super lost. The milestones and the details, I'm super lost.
Yeah.
Like how I'm gonna get there, I don't know. But like I just, but exactly when we started this foundation, that I told you I was like, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it. I was like, I feel it in my bones. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna make.
Yeah. All I know right now that's like giving me that comfort is kind of the sense of just pick one thing. Because I think right now, even if we're like feeling a little bit lost, like it's just like picking that one thing to be consistent on and building it. Like at least you're gonna like create these milestones, and like I feel like we both have good heads on our shoulders, so it's just like we're not. I think both of us aren't. our ends are not material or super selfish or like egocentric. So I feel like because of that, we're able, even when we're lost, also able to operate like well, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
You don't
Um,
have to focus on one thing.
Mhm.
I mean, especially in
Yeah,
this society, like I think being knowledgeable of multiple things is more
yeah.
useful.
I just say it to myself because I have the type of personality that sometimes like it's the overwhelming sense of having many passions um breaks me down sometimes, and then I don't do anything. So for my personal philosophy, at least, the motivation is just like I need to pick at least one thing to be consistent on, because then that builds, and then
Hmm.
I can like slowly pick up the pieces to do the other things.
Okay.
But if
That
I
makes
try
sense.
to look at everything of like you can do anything that you want, like you can do a
Yeah, you
many
get overwhelmed. I
things, I
understand.
get overwhelmed, and it's just like for someone who has the personality type where it's just like we can do many things, it's like
Yeah,
yeah.
makes sense. Makes
Anyway, I feel like we've gone through the full 5 stages of grief in this in this episode, but
It always gets the best at the end, I feel.
yeah,
Because I think what we forget, we're like filming and then we just, the real like
yeah,
brain juice, I don't know what I was going to say, but it just comes out. But yeah, so obviously, I guess we could probably end it in a bit just because,
yeah.
I mean, just to summarize, we're Mexico City. Very excited about, especially going to like my dream of giving back to my community. So it's like a little, I guess this could be a bit of a milestone
Mm, that's
for
true.
me.
I mean, of course, and we're not even mentioning it, but Florence was a huge milestone too. Like, but I'm glad it's in the past. I don't want to build up towards that one. That took a fucking toll out of me.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, yeah. Anywho,
It's always the first step that's the hardest.
that's
Now that
true.
people can see that we can do it,
Hmm.
it's gonna be a lot easier.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
gotta
Well,
like,
as always, wait and hope.
wait and hope,
Dream big.
dream big.
Don't get stuck on the milestones. We're just on a floating rock, as you like to say.
Yes.